Hey guys, before we start, a quick shout out to Alpha Dog Nutrition for sponsoring this podcast. Alpha Dog products are now available at dusupply.com, and you can use code ALPHADOG15 at checkout for 15% off and a credit for free shipping to try it yourself. Now let's get you to your podcast. We're recording. I don't know if this is like 2, 3, 4. I don't know. We've had so many technical problems. And we started recording. We got about 4 minutes. Luckily, we didn't get like 45 minutes in.
Right.
So we got 4 minutes in, and the SD card filled up. I'm huffing and puffing because I'm out of shape, and I had to run all the way back to my desk. Lori, we're going to start over. We're going to pretend like we didn't just mess up. But
didn't do this. Okay.
We were talking about 2 bills. And I got to catch my breath or something. You can be breathing. In the podcast, I'm going to annoy people right now.
First and chasing dogs, huh?
Yeah. I need to get in shape, man. I pick on my dogs being out of shape. But we were talking about 2 bills you guys just kind of had in California. One of them was the mountain lion bill. And we started going into little details on that. And the other one was a bear bill. So let's take it back from the top. Explain that mountain lion bill and the brothers and just what you just told me so we can catch up with the new SD card.
So Senate Bill 818 was a 5-year pilot bill in El Dorado County alone. And it would have allowed hounds to pursue or haze mountain lions in El Dorado County alone for aversive conditioning, as you say.
Yeah.
Which already is being used in other states and works yourself.
Yeah. Like some people are spinning it a little bit, like we don't know that it moves cougars away from like areas, you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't say. But what we do know is that when you capture, tree cougars, capture them, and here's what I would explain it as. Like if I was explaining it in a layman's term who didn't have any ideas, like, hey, you capture the cougar, you get to the tree, you have this speaker, or whatever, human voices, maybe you call it a nasty name or something, whatever. You just, you locate that cougar and you say, hey, you bad cougar, or whatever. The human, that cougar is associating the dogs, the captured, the humans with that voice. And so the next time it hears the human voice, it says, oh, I don't like that sound because there could be dogs that come and capture me and tree me. And then I get treed and this human walks up and calls me dirty names. And I don't like getting called dirty names. And so the next time it hears human voices, it slips away, whereas before it didn't. So I'm paraphrasing. I'm adding stuff into Bart's study to try to make it funny. But in a nutshell, that's what it is we would play this sound as we walk towards a cougar, and it would not move away. It would stay there. It would hold its position until you got really close to it. And then even then, it would maybe slink away. Maybe it you didn't know what it was going to do, but a lot of times it didn't do hardly anything. And when it did move away, it wasn't necessarily getting away from you. It was just kind of like, hey, I didn't know what to do. And so you bring the dogs in, you tree it normally pretty quick. And, he did some different methods of hazing, to see what, at first it was a little more aggressive. And I think by the end, it wasn't so aggressive that it was mostly like, hey, you just captured the cat and, leash out the dogs and leave. And so that you do that 4 times. By the 4th time, as soon as that cougar heard voices, it was mobilizing away from the voices. You know what I mean? It was so anyways, that's what we do know is that if you catch and release, at least on a consistent basis, the cougar hears the human voice and says, nope, I'm out of here. I don't like this. I want to leave. I want to avoid human voices. And so I'm fairly confident to say that is effective, that a healthy pursuit season there's some potentially beneficial public safety things that we could see from that. So that's my kind of little spiel on bringing the study in. What we do know, I think we need more studies on it. I think we need to look at more depth of, my question is if just a pursuit season, you know what I mean? Like if you just catch and release a healthy pursuit season, do those cougars?
Well, that's exactly, this was supposed to be a 5-year study.
Yeah.
A study to see if it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And we weren't wanting to kill them. We're just wanting to pursue them and see if it worked.
Yeah.
If it did work, then it could branch out to other counties in the state that wanted to try it.
Follow the data. Yeah.
Because we have such a problem in the state of California.
Yeah, exactly.
But El Dorado County being the worst.
So
their rise with the death of the young man, and then the rise of their livestock.
You're talking about those brothers, right? The two brothers. Yeah. In California.
Taylor and Wyatt. And Taylor is the one that was killed. Wyatt was mauled.
Right.
And their livestock, it just went through the roof. And, the other side, the advocates try to tell you, oh, get dogs, do this, do that. These lions are jumping fences in yards and jumping out with 75-pound German Shepherds.
Yeah.
Which are supposed to be a dog to scare them off.
Like,
so
these, cougars are really impressive. Like when you go to a depredation call, like it is impressive. The fences that cougars can manipulate carrying stuff in their mouths. You know what I mean? Like watching, like they're such magnificent creatures, but it's when you look at this 100-pound cat and you watch what it does. And I've dragged a couple deer out and elk out, whatever. I know it's tough. You know what I mean? Hanging that stuff over fences and stuff, man.
And they do it with ease.
Yeah, exactly. If you watch a video of them getting one hung up in a fence line or whatever, and just watching what they do, it's truly impressive what they do.
Yeah. But anyway, so, and we tried to say that, we love these animals just as much as anyone. Yeah. And we don't want them killed either.
Right.
That's why we want to do this.
We want them managed, right? Yeah.
We do want them managed. They do need to be managed. But right now, we just want to try to keep them from getting more humans.
Yeah.
Getting these people's livestock and getting killed because they ultimately pay, what happens when they do this. They're going to get killed unnecessarily. So,
yeah.
But when the bill was heard last week, they had came forward before the bill was ever presented with amendments. And the author, Senator Alvarado Gale, she had told them, no, we don't want those amendments. So they were wanting to take the hounds out.
So what amendments? So is in
they wanted to gut it and take the hounds out. And they were like, that's the main factor of this bill. That's what's going to work.
Right.
So.
And who was they?
The committee.
The committee.
So when the bill was heard that day, they proposed their amendments again.
Yeah.
And the family, the lobbyist, which is Bill Gaines of Gaines and Associates, our lobbyist also, they were like, no, we're not going to accept the amendments that you want. We want it to go through as is.
Yeah.
So they didn't have a quorum on the floor. So they said that it would have to go on call and come back for a vote. And we figured that when it went back up for the vote later that day, that it would go out on a party line vote of there was only 7 members of the committee, and it would probably die with a 5-2 vote because there was only 2 Republicans.
Wow. And
that night,
like on that committee, 5 So it's a 5-2 Republican split on that committee?
Yeah, 2 Republicans, 5 Democrats.
Oh, man.
And
Okay.
so later that night, I spoke with Bill, and he's like, "You're not going to believe this." They went ahead and it's called hostile amendments. And they completely gutted the bill, put their amendments in, and pushed it through anyway. And I was like, how can they do that?
Yeah.
When the author of the bill said no. I don't get that part of politics. I don't get a lot about politics. It's so corrupt. But so the only part that is left on that bill that was original was the author's name, Senator Alvarado Gill, and then it was called Wyatt or Taylor and Wyatt's Law. So the boy's name was still on it. Then underneath, they removed everything and put in their own language, which is stuff that already exists.
Like what?
Such as strobe lights, electric fencing, guardian dogs. But they wanted to make it more money to the department to do these things and to study these things to see if these things were more effective.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the annoying part.
With the family there, one of the lead people on the lead testimony was the boy's uncle, Malcolm Brooks.
Right.
Wyatt was right there sitting in the front row, has a huge scar down the side of his face. These people had the audacity to do that to this family.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Are you guys
they don't
able
care
to
about
sit?
people.
Will those members in the committee take a meeting with you guys?
What was that?
Will they meet with you guys? I mean,
Well, they've tried meeting with them, and they will not even know how it is how it is.
Yeah, like so you're saying the commission or the committee members?
No,
nobody will sit down and talk to you guys.
Oh, they've talked to them, but they are not willing to work and take their amendments out and go back to the original way it was. So I believe what is going to happen is that the author is going to take her name off the bill and the boy's name off the bill. The family doesn't want no part of it anymore.
Yeah.
So, and then they'll just go through. What they're trying to do is look like heroes.
Yeah, they're trying to.
They admitted that there's a problem in California with lions. They admitted that.
With what?
There's a problem in California with mountain lions.
Yeah.
They admitted that day. And then they went and did this, though. So they're just trying to look like heroes. What
groups are you dealing with? I mean, what groups are behind that?
The Mountain Lion Foundation was the main one there that was fighting it that day. And then, I mean, you have the Humane Society, which is not hardly anything anymore. You have a bunch of other little animal activist groups that were there, but the main one.
I wonder if you guys could, while you're waiting, like if they could give you. So a lot of times, I mean, those gutting a bill is nothing new, right? Like we've done that before on our side, where whether it's a tethering bill or, you know what I mean, like different bills that I know have been launched in Washington, Animal Care Act or whatever, where you go down, you sit down with the group and they form a working group or whatever. And you have these different stakeholders sitting at the meeting and you come in with, okay, well, we want to work together to get this bill passed. And so, getting the Mountain Lion Foundation to sit down in a room with you guys, with other stakeholders.
It was actually the Senate Natural Resource Committee that did it.
That did what?
That put the amendments in the bill.
Oh yeah. But I'm
And
sure that came
they were
from,
pressured.
yeah, I'm sure that came from, so figuring out which committee member or those Democrats that are willing to at least listen and go, hey, we want, like, you have to, let's just say, okay, we understand we got to work with the Mountain Lion Foundation, right? If they have that much political capital that they can gut the bill, the answer is we need to sit down with the Mountain Lion Foundation and go, okay, what is it that what's more important to you? Is it more important to save cougars than it is to kill cougars? You know what I mean? Like, we're getting you down to the line of, okay, well, either we need to kill cougars, or maybe we can do it without killing cougars and save humans. And if we can find a way that does this effectively, and the cougar conflict goes down, cougar mortality goes down, you know what I mean? You get everything you want with no side effects, meaning the hounds are not going to kill the cougar. Like, we it's a non-lethal, pursuit. So a lot of times when you're sitting in a room and talking to them face to face, it's really hard for them to be hardline party. Nope. You know what I mean? Like, outside of the room, when
We've
sending emails and they're
we've
sending emails
tried.
and everything's just political push, it's easy to be hardline. This is the party line vote. The answer is no, but when you're sitting in that room and you're trying to collaborate and trying to do good work, sometimes that's where the sausage gets made.
I can promise you we've tried. And I mean, we've talked to these people till we're blue in the face about it. And that by doing this, that less lions are going to be killed.
Yeah.
Because they are going to get in less trouble.
Right. Yeah.
And
is there a working group with those?
I honestly don't think they care about animals like they say they care about animals.
Yeah.
I really don't.
No, I would agree with you on that. It is difficult. It is a difficult.
And I know it's most states, but especially in California, if it has hounds in it or houndsmen in it, they're going to fight it tooth and nail. So, and if it means saving animals, they don't care.
Yeah.
They do not care. They would rather see animals die than to allow us to help.
Yeah, I think so here's what I think. I think the title, the weight, the political pendulum, whatever, is moving. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's been a pretty rough, we've been on the wrong side for a little while, especially on the, West Coast, California, Oregon, Washington, you know what I mean? Like, we've always been under attack. And I think going to that New Mexico Lion Association workshop, or whatever, the Mountain Lion workshop, I think we're getting traction. Not enough traction, obviously. You know what I mean? Like, don't have enough traction in California right now. But the fact that these things are getting discussed, I think, is a good sign. You know what I mean? I think the traction is getting there. It's not enough. Like, we need more, and we need to sharpen our tools, and our language, and because the fact that they still want to pass a gutted bill tells me that they know there's a problem. You know what I mean? Like, you said that there's a problem. And so,
there's a big problem.
Now they're trying, and Washington does this too, like they try and, I think in Washington years ago, they did two cougar, we'll give 2 cougar tags. It's like, that's not going to make it, boot hunters. I'm like, that's not going to move the needle. Like, but they come up with these other solutions that they know won't do anything, simply for the fact to say they did something. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, well, we passed this bill and we need to wait and see if this bill will change if we use air horns or strobe lights or whatever that is for these cougars.
Yeah.
And then
that stuff's already being used here.
Yeah. So they're using it as a game. They're using it as a delay tactic,
The director of Fish and Wildlife went to a board of supervisors meeting in El Dorado County and was on film stating that he was not against hazing mountain lions with hounds.
Right.
And thought it would help.
Yeah.
And then they did this anyway.
How was that bill passed? Was it like in California, the history was it voted?
How did they take lion away
lions
from
and
her?
bears?
Lion hunting?
Yeah.
It was a ballot initiative.
Yeah.
And so, but in it, Prop 17, there's a part in it that states that this can be allowed, the hazing and stuff can be brought back through with it has to be a 4/5 vote.
Right.
Of the House. So, which is hard, but doable.
Yeah.
If you have common sense.
Oh, yeah.
Which is very lacking down there at our capital.
Well, yeah.
In California.
No.
And it was proven last week.
Yeah. So is that bill just going to die now that it's got no meat on the bone is what essentially is probably going to happen, huh?
I didn't catch that.
Do you think so? I'm guessing that bill is just going to die with no meat on the bone. That's what's going to happen. They stripped it out.
No, it's going to go through with their amendments.
No,
I'm sure it'll
it will
pass with flying colors with their amendments. But it's what it's going to do is it's just going to cost.
You think so?
Oh yeah, because they're pushing it now. The Democrats are pushing it. Why wouldn't it pass?
Yeah,
it's going to have nothing to do with hounds. It's going to make them look like the heroes that make them look like they're doing something for mountain lions in the state.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it pass? And it's going to cost the state money to run it.
And it's just for that county?
Yeah. And it's going to do absolutely no good because what they're pushing through is already being done.
And the legislator...
It's just going to cost money
I'm
to
guessing
run the bill through.
The legislator that sponsored it was from that county?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But she's coming off of it. So one of the other ones will have to pick it up, or the Senate Natural Resource will sponsor it or something. I don't know what'll happen. I don't know how all that works.
My guess is it's going to die. I mean, maybe they push it, but a lot of times there's just no. I mean, maybe I don't know. I guess I can see your point where they're trying to make it like they're the heroes. That would be a motivation for them to pass it.
It passed through that committee unanimously after they amended it.
Even the Republicans, huh?
So it's on. Well, I don't know. It didn't pass. The Republicans didn't vote for it, so it didn't pass unanimously. Okay. I take that back. So, but it moved on to the next leg.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, and
did it start in the Senate? So it has to go all the way through the House?
Yeah, it's in the Senate. So,
I mean, we're running out of time on. How long does your session go?
They just came back from recess, so they're starting back up.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it'll end because their new session will start this fall. It'll be done by summer. So they'll be getting done here pretty soon. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be interested to see if it makes it through. Like if I had to gamble, my bet would be that it just dies with no meat on the bone. They stripped it, they gutted it, and then it's going to lose steam. It doesn't have anybody who's really pushing the support of it except for
we'll see
animal rights.
If it stays like it is and they keep pushing it through, I bet it goes through, and I bet our dumbass governor signs it.
Yeah. Huh.
That's just my feeling.
Yeah.
And it's going to do absolutely nothing.
Have you had bills gutted like that before that went through?
Well, our lobbyist, Bill Gaines,
Yeah.
said he's only seen in his career, and he's been working there for a long time, just a few, like a couple of hostile amendments like that.
And do they
Then
generally pass?
I didn't ask him that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would. It'll be interesting to see, like, because more for the lesson of, are they that desperate? You know what I mean? If they're that desperate that they're going to take over a bill, gut it, put useless information in, and then champion that bill, that's pretty desperate. Like, in my opinion, you know what I mean? Like, they're
Desperate or dumb.
yeah, like they they're kind of opening themselves up to just show that they're going to lose more credibility. You know what I mean? Like, if we can pin them down and be
It
like,
was
okay,
just, I was so disgusted. I just couldn't even believe it. And then I come home, and my husband, Keith, he's like, so how does that make you feel about your bill next week?
yeah,
And I told him, I really don't know.
yeah,
Because we had been, we had like a 50-50 take on our bill.
yeah,
We had heard good things. We had not heard good things. Because we've been lobbying the heck out of it.
yeah. Man, what was the testimony like? We'll change subjects here in a minute and talk about your bill. But what was the testimony like on that lion bill? Like, what Mountain Lion Foundation? What was their
There
testimony
was
like?
way more in support
Yeah,
of the bill
yeah.
than not. There was a handful of opposition there.
Mostly groups, Mountain Lion Foundation, HS. I mean, mostly.
It was
advocacy
mainly
groups.
Mountain Lion Foundation.
CBC, was, I'm sure, was there.
Jennifer Fearing was there, that used to work for Humane Society. She now lobbies for herself. It's called Fearless Advocate.
Mm-hmm.
She was there. I don't even know who else was there. There wasn't hardly anybody there.
Yeah.
And then the room was little. I didn't even get inside the room. It was packed. It was full. So I was listening on my phone out in the hallway.
Yeah.
You couldn't hear it good. They didn't have TVs going. But, it was just, I don't know. It was hard to watch. I know that.
Yeah.
Very disappointing. Very disappointing for the family.
Yes.
Kind of like a slap in the face, actually.
I would imagine so. Man, that stinks. It's going to be, we're going to have to watch that and see. Like I said.
Well, the bad thing is that it's going to happen to more people. That's the sad thing.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't
That's
care.
not going to be the first one.
No.
That's not going to be, and it's going to happen more. So, and those, like I said, those people don't care.
Yeah.
They do not care.
Yeah, I don't know how we change that, man.
And most of the people that got up to oppose it were from San Francisco, Sacramento, LA. They don't even deal with this.
Yeah.
One lady came up trying to tell us, because Kelly and I were there, and my nephew, and come up to say, oh, we're so sorry. What happened was devastating. She was from the Mountain Lion Foundation. And I said, please, spare us. And she's trying to say stuff. And I asked her, I said, how many lions have you actually seen out in the wild? Oh, none.
Yeah.
Like, yep. There you go. I said, you people don't live this life. You don't live with these animals. These people live with these animals on a daily basis. Yeah. They have them in their yards. They have them on their porches. They have them trying to come through doggy doors.
Right.
Packing their animals off. Can't even let their children play out in their yards.
Yeah. Yeah, but the logical part of me, Lori, looks at it and goes, that argument isn't enough. We've got to figure out how to connect with those people. Like, as much as it sucks, like, we've got to figure out how to change or at least soften there. And I think it's doable. I think it's a really challenging thing to do. I think it's really difficult.
We do have to educate them, and we have to educate. I mean,
yeah. The best thing that could happen
these dogs
is
are,
if you could get a study and you could bring those people in, like I would, and I don't know how much I'd bet on it, but that gal that said, "Oh, I'm sorry," I would almost guarantee if they got part of a study in a cougar and they went and collared a lot of cougars and seen the work that the dogs do. Now, are they going to want to shoot cougars? No, probably maybe not. But a lot of them, as they learn the science behind cougars and they learn more and more interaction with the cougars, and then they learn more and more interactions with our dogs, they have this preconceived notion of what our dogs are. And that is so far from the truth that they can't get past that until they meet our dogs and go, man, that's our sweet dogs. You know what I mean? Like, those are our puppies. Those are our dogs. And as they connect with the dogs, they learn that these dogs have a really cool job. I mean, number one, they just have a super cool job. And number two, they're good at their job. You know what I mean? They love doing their job and they're effective at it. And it's safe for the cougar. You know what I mean? Like, that's probably one of the, I mean, it's the only way to ethically and professionally catch cougars with consistency.
Because we came so close with this other bill and it's now on reconsideration. So we're going to bring it back.
Yeah.
And so one of the things we're going to do, I've already talked to the author of it about it, Heather Hadwick. We're going to have a hound day at the Capitol and get the members of the committee to meet these dogs.
Yeah.
And, like, have a bunch of hounds there. Show them how they act. Show them how they mind. Show them the GPS collars and handhelds and the landowner maps, and that these dogs will not trespass like they say they are going to do.
Right.
Because we're not going to allow it, because these maps show us exactly where these dogs are going to go.
Yeah.
And we'll stop them. And then have these members come out and hands on with these dogs.
I hope you guys can get the other side to come out and participate with that.
Oh, they will. She'll get them out there.
Good.
She's great. And then I also told, Bill, that they need to get the people that were on the Lion bill to do this, come out and see them also.
Yeah.
And see, this is not what you guys have been told that these animals are. These dogs are.
Yeah.
They need to come see these dogs. And we have offered to take these people out in the field. Well, the chair that was on the bear bill actually has agreed to go.
Oh, awesome.
And I'm like, hallelujah.
Yeah. There is so much work that happens at a tree, like so much connection if you can get people to the tree, especially, a tree.
Exactly. They can see how happy those dogs are.
Not even that, but the emotional roller coaster somebody goes through. I've had a couple of people that have gotten taken to a cougar tree for the first time, right? Professionally, whatever it is. And that there's a bonding that happens that's really hard to explain, but getting that person to go through the process and one by one, their preconceived notions start disappearing. You know what I mean? Like, you're in the beginning, it's always like, well, what are the dogs going to do? Da, da, da. Like trying a lion. It's like, oh, they're just going to start barking and take, I was like, no. They're probably going to chirp a little bit. They're going to whine a little bit. Their tails are going to wag. You know what I mean? They're going to spin up on this track. He's like, what do you mean? I said, well, they don't just hit a track and just, wow, take off. You know what I mean? My dogs are going to, they're going to spin. Their tails are going to wag. They're going to recheck things. They're going to check this bush. And then it's going to grow, to where they start barking, and they realize, yes, we have a cat here. So they start barking and start the track. And then they line it out and they get better. And, and then it grows and grows and grows until they get it jumped. And then they're going to give it a little bit of pressure and they're going to run and bark. And I said, that cat probably going to climb the tree before the dogs even see it. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times those things climb when they just cannot escape the sound of the dogs. I don't think it's the dogs a lot of times, but through that process, those people go through where they come in all anxious and nervous. Like, oh my gosh, I'm going bear hunting. I'm going, the cat, there's the dogs, and what's going to happen. And this, they don't know. I mean, they just have no clue about what they're going to experience. And so they're really anxious about it. And then when it's done, you look over and they're just like, it's the best day of their life. Man, that was, holy cow, this was awesome. You know what I mean? Like, and this bond building happens right there through that. It's like you go through this little mini adverse conditioning situation. I don't say war because it's not, what I mean? Like I'm trying to think of a good example, but I would, brothers that go fight a war together. You know what I mean? They come back.
Yeah.
And I've never gone to the military. And so I'm completely talking out of context here. And so like full grain of thought, but that's the one thing that I missed in life is I never got enlisted because of personal choices. And the one thing, talking with my old man who's passed away or whatever, is that there is bonding that happens in that military that you're just going through stuff together. You know what I mean? Whether it's boot camp, whether it's going off to war or whatever, you're going through adverse situations.
Well, when I took, when we were trying to get the GPS collars legalized here, and I took the one commissioner hunting and never been hunting, lived in LA, Democrat.
Yeah.
And I said, don't judge it till you've done it. Come see what we do.
Yeah.
Don't listen to the lies.
Yeah.
So he did. So went hunting with me, had a blast.
Exactly.
Had an absolute blast. And his exact words were, I don't know how anyone that likes the outdoors and dogs and wildlife could not like this.
100%. That's exactly, yeah. And he was probably anxious at first. You know what I mean? He was probably really anxious and nervous and whether he let on or not, but then going through the process, he's like, oh my gosh, these people are normal. You know what I mean? And the dogs. And it's
and he saw, we were walking, because we were raccoon hunting and we were walking and the dogs come back to me and I told him, I said, well, there's something they don't like that they're not supposed to run, and some deer came out.
Yeah.
And then later a coyote. And he's like, well, so much for the theory that they run down anything in their path and mutilate it.
Right.
I'm like, see?
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to tell people. If they would just actually go see for themselves.
It is hard
and then
to
he asked
do.
me,
He said, that, it's awesome.
He says, have you offered to them to go out? I said, yes, they have been offered to go out. And he goes, I wonder why they won't. I said, because they don't want to see the truth.
Well, I would, yes, but I would probably say that they're afraid. You know what I mean? Like they have these notions and they're afraid. Maybe they don't want to see the truth. Maybe they are politically scared of losing their election if they don't toe the party line. You know what I mean? Like there's a bunch of crap in the way of that. But if they could get beyond that and get to the topic of dogs, most of the time we have a pretty good discussion or whatever. I don't say argument, but when you talk about dogs, like when you talk about cougars, it's always about cougars, and it's like, oh, this cougar. But when you talk about dogs and training dogs, most everybody likes dogs. Like they really do. They like dogs with a purpose. And so like drawing that connection is really difficult, but that's what we got to figure out how to do. We got to figure out how to talk about puppies and dogs more often than cougars and trees. So, yeah. Well, let's talk about your second bill a little bit, because that one, and now I want to definitely track it. So like, let me know how that goes. I'm kind of curious to see what, mostly because of their motivation. Like I said, if they're going to hijack your bill, gut it, make it useless, and then pass it and champion it at the same time to say, hey, we're doing something. They're pretty desperate. Like,
yeah,
that's
we'll
a pretty
keep you up to
desperate
date
mode.
on the lion bill. I'll keep you up to date on that.
Yeah.
So the other one, the bear bill, the Assembly Bill 1038, was heard on, what day was it heard? Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And
so that bill, what is that bill?
There's actually two parts to the bill. The first part is a pursuit only. And it would allow the hazing of bears and out in the wild throughout the whole state.
Yeah.
And what it was, we brought this up for, and this is sponsored by California Houndsmen for Conservation, and we have a co-sponsor, California Deer Association, signed on later this year to it. And it was Assemblyman woman, Heather Hadwick, is the one that carried the bill. And so what it would do is allow houndsmen to pursue bears and try to, because for over a decade now, they have not been able to be ran by hounds after Assembly Bill 1221 passed.
Yeah.
In 2012 was the last year we could run bears here in California.
God, we're getting old.
Bears and bobcats.
Yeah.
So for over a decade now, they have not been able to be ran with dogs. Mm-hmm. And human bear conflicts in this state have went up drastically.
Right.
And just human or bear problems, period. So, it's time to do something. And we knew that the bear management plan, California Department of Fish and Wildlife bear management plan, was going to be coming out soon.
Yeah.
Well, it would be dropping while this bill was getting ready to be heard. And their numbers had skyrocketed. So the last time a bear management plan had been done, the numbers they had were like 15,000 bears in the state. And the numbers that they put out now were 60,000, give or take 15,000. So You're looking at, you could have upwards of 80,000 bears, 85,000 bears in the state. So that's a lot of bears. They're saying that California is the highest number of bears next to Alaska. And you figure that in with one of the most populated states of people.
Yeah.
That doesn't work well. So, and the graph that they have with the human bear conflicts in the last 10 years is just steadily increased. Yeah. And then in 2022, it really went up. And then it kind of came down a little bit, but still was really increased. And it's amazing. We're trying to say, well, yeah, look, it increased when you couldn't, it started increasing when the dogs were taken out of the equation.
Yeah.
That's kind of a no-brainer.
Right.
So we wanted to get our dogs back out there because we all know that when they're out there running these bears, and it's just like the aversive conditioning, mm-hmm. It's a positive or bad. They're saying, well, you guys are going to be out there and you're going to be harassing them. Well, yeah, that's what we want to do.
Yeah, you want to do adverse conditioning.
We want to let them know that when they get treated by these dogs, next thing you know, comes humans.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
stay away from
then
humans.
when they try to come into towns and hear people, and they hear dogs barking, they need to retreat. So not as many you're not going to stop them all, but a lot of them are going to stay out where they need to be.
Yeah.
So, and we want to keep bears from getting killed unnecessarily, because here in California, when they get killed on a depredation, no part of the bear can be used. They get discarded like a piece of trash.
Thrown in the dump.
And, and I guess apparently to the antis, that's okay. But to us, it's not. We don't like that.
So what process did it get through in the,
what's that?
So it didn't make it through the committee?
It did not make it through the committee. It was, we needed 7 yeses. There's 13 members.
Right.
We needed 7 yeses. We got 6 yeses. There was 4 no votes. And then the rest did not vote.
So, is this the same committee?
I don't know how that works.
Is this the same committee as the Lion bill went through, or different?
It is not, because this is on the assembly side. So it's Assembly, Water, Parks, and Wildlife. And so...
And what was the Cougar bill in? What committee was it in?
What's that?
What was the Cougar bill in? Safety?
It was in Senate.
Oh. Is it like the House of Representatives versus the Senate? You're saying that...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So this is the assembly side. So we got 6 yes votes, 4 no votes. The rest did not vote. And
I wonder. So
anywhere else but politics, that would have been a pass.
Yeah. No.
That would have been a win. But in politics, that's not a win.
So I got a question. You may not know the answer for this, but why didn't they run the Cougar bill on the assembly side? Just because of the senator?
I do not know, because, the senator, it was a senator that was from El Dorado County that ran the bill. She's the one that did the bill. And she's a senator. She's on the Senate side. So I'm guessing that's why it was on the Senate side.
So in a bill that we've run before, we would run it on the Senate and the House side. So you'd have 2 bills that, a lot of times what they do, and I don't know if you can do this in California or not, but they'll have 2 bills that are like sister bills or whatever they call them.
Yeah.
And so it's a sister bill. So you run it on the House side, and then you run it on the Senate side, and you get it through. And so both sides can kind of hash on it and work on it with the committee in their respective committees. And then if it's going to move out of that side, then they kind of get together and go, hey, which vehicle do we want to drive? Which bill do we want to push? Right. And so, why do you think they didn't do that?
Well, here how they work. So like this bill, if it finally eventually goes through the assembly, it'll go all the way through all the assemblies. Because next it would go to appropriations, and then it goes on from there till it goes through all the committees in the assembly.
Yeah.
If it passes through all the committees in the assembly, then it goes to the Senate side.
Correct.
And it has to be heard through all the Senate committees. If it gets passed through there, it comes back to the assembly side.
Yeah. So
and
that's my question is you can run a bill on the Senate, and you can run a bill on the assembly side, I assume, in California, at least in Washington. And so you had your Cougar bill ran on the Senate side, and I'm from the outside, Lori, so like whatever.
Yeah,
but
me too.
I would be like, why are these 2 people? Why is that senator not talking to that legislator and going, hey, I can duplicate your bill on the assembly side and have that Senate bill duplicate. You know what I mean? It's like, so you can kind of get traction on both sides, where it's like, okay, we can see what the assembly side, we can do work on the assembly side, and then you do work on the Senate side. And it broadens the discussion. It broadens the eyeballs too. So I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. You should look at that, especially if you're getting that bear, pursuit bear hazing bill is getting tracked. And you got to talk to your lobbyists. There's smarter guys.
Well, the second half of our bear bill would allow the commission, if they choose to do so, to allow the take of bears with hounds.
Mm.
So they would bring back the take of or use of hounds for a take season to manage the population, because the population's getting so out of control in this state.
So do you, as an outsider, again, do you think, where was the pushback from the members that voted no? Was it on that part or was it on the whole part?
Yep. If that part wouldn't have been in there, I think it would have passed.
Why didn't they pull that out?
Well, she offered to amend it, but they didn't accept that. And I don't know why they didn't accept it. The chair didn't accept it. The chair is the one that has to accept the amendments. So
that's too bad.
I don't know. But because a couple of them had said that they were, skeptical of the kill part that was in there.
Yeah.
Had that not been in there, they would vote yes. And
sounds like it would have got it in the Senate.
So she offered.
That's the problem, right? You got to worry about that Senate is what you got to worry about.
They offered, and so, or she offered to take it out, but they, to amend it, and they didn't accept it. But all the members weren't there because they were working in other committees.
Yeah.
So they reconvened till 5:30 that evening. And so we tried to work to get a seventh vote. And then they came back at 5:30 and they didn't get the seventh vote. One of the ones that was a no vote decided to take his no vote away, though, and not vote, which I don't get how they can do that. I mean, you're elected to go in there and vote for people. How can you not vote?
Well, but it's the right direction. Like, you know what I mean?
So
he encouraged that.
He took his no vote away. He took his no vote away. And then, but, so then she asked for it to be reconsidered, which is kind of makes it a 2-year bill.
The person that took the no vote away asked for it to be reconsidered?
No. Okay. Assemblyman, the one authoring the bill, Assemblyman Hadwick.
Okay.
And so they voted unanimously to give it reconsideration. So what that will do is it'll come back up in the fall. We'll be able to start lobbying it again. And then it will be heard again in January.
Yeah.
So, so hopefully we can sway some others to vote yes.
And you guys are totally on board pulling the harvest portion out.
Yeah. I don't know about like the hunters that were for this bill,
the
if
deer
they are
hunters
on board.
That's the problem. Like with the houndsmen, generally the houndsmen are the least likely. Like, it's like we always get labeled as the killers. Like, oh, but it's like, dude, we're the ones who don't care about shooting it. You know what I mean? Like
exactly,
dude, I don't care. Like, we're here for the dogs. We're here, for the training and all that. Like harvesting.
I told them, I said, the main thing that we have to worry about right now, you already have a bear season in this state.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're already getting to kill bears.
Yeah.
But we've got to worry about public safety right now. So if we can go out there, and I am getting sick of bears getting killed unnecessarily and just discarded.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's disrespectful to the bears. So if we can go out there and we can pursue these animals and we can keep humans safe and bears from getting killed unnecessarily, then we're doing our job.
Yeah.
And that's what we as houndsmen want to do.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So the kill part, I mean, there's already a bear season. You're already getting to kill bears. So, it's not our fault they're not filling their quota. Yes, they do need to manage these bears. And the department, when we talked about this, because Bill and I had been working on this, with CHC, we spoke with the board members and about putting the part in with the commission and the take part. And it's a great idea. And they should be the ones in charge of managing wildlife.
Yeah.
It was their job over 100 years ago. That's why they were formed.
No,
and that's whose hands it should be in, not politicians.
Yeah.
That's who should be managing our wildlife. And if the department and the commission cannot manage our wildlife, then why do we need them?
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Why are we paying their salaries?
Yeah.
But
so that's where it's at. It'll be reconsidered, which is good.
It will be reconsidered. So we will be working the heck out of it. And like I said, we'll be having a hound day at the Capitol.
I'd be really curious to see what those assemblymen are on with the Cougar hazing bill. You know what I mean? Like I'd be curious, because if that's got that whole process, we got to be asking that question to those people too. You know what I mean? Like, hey, if and I would not recommend putting the bears and cougars together on the same bill. Like, keep them separate. You know what I mean? Like, don't do that. But
no, it's got to be kept separate.
But it is interesting to me to go, what does the assembly side think of that cougar bill too? You know what I mean? Like, because either bill's got to go through both. So I got two questions. One is, what does the assembly side look at on that cougar bill? And two, what's the Senate side going to do on your bear bill? Those are the two questions that I have. That's like, if you guys are getting traction,
we got to start working
both sides.
Light
the candle on both ends. You know what I mean? And try to see where the problems are, and it makes it a little bit more work. It's a little more busy because
if we get through the assembly, we will be going to the committee that shot down the lion bill.
Exactly.
That's the first one we will be in.
And
with the bear bill.
The one thing that I can tell you out of experience when you got the candle lit on both ends is when you take a day to go to the Capitol to work a bill, you at least have a chance of getting more meetings, right? Because it's always like, oh, you got this one meeting for 15 minutes or whatever it is, and you're trying to figure out what to do with your day. You drive all the way down there to you know what I mean? But when you have two going or even four bills going, 2 on the Assembly, 2 on the Senate, then you can meet with a couple people on the Assembly side and a couple people on the Senate side and kind of make a day out of it versus going for just one person.
So we've been making a day out of it. I can tell you that.
No, it's not fun. That part of the politics is not fun.
Call it my home away from home.
How long of a drive for you is it to the Capitol?
About an hour and a half.
Gosh, yeah.
Well, depends on traffic. Sometimes longer.
Right.
But because Sacramento traffic stinks.
Yeah.
It's horrible. But I mean, it depends on what time our first meetings are, and if they're a little later, like 10 o'clock, I mean, the traffic's not as bad, but if they're first thing in the morning, oh my goodness, the traffic stinks. And it's
well, I know we appreciate you, Lori. Like, that is a job that not a lot of people, like, nobody wants the job of running an association.
It's horrible.
But so
Bill keeps me in line. Bill Gaines. I don't think I could do it without him.
You get too slow. He starts cracking a whip. Hey, let's go.
He keeps me in line. Keeps me. Yeah, he's good.
So what? Let's just change subjects. What got you started in hounds? Like, completely different. How long have you been doing this, and when did you
seems
start?
Like 100 years, but
yeah.
Well, my dad had hounds.
Right.
Years ago, he lived in Porterville. He grew up in Porterville, and he had hounds. And then he got out of hounds, but my sister had hounds. She lived in Yocol Valley out of Exeter.
Right.
And then I got my first hound puppy from her when I was 10, I believe.
Oh yeah, yeah. You've been in it for.
Yeah, long time ago. Anyway, I hunted with her, and then my dad got hounds again also. And then uh, I've had hounds ever since. And then Keith and I have known each other since we are probably 7.
Yeah.
And he used to hunt with people with hounds. We from going to the water races and field trials, and we've known each other. And then we ended up together. And, yep, we'll be married 40 years in this month, the 11th
Oh,
of May.
congratulations! What are you going to do for your 40th? What's he going to do? What's he going to do for his 40th?
Probably go hunting.
Exactly. Spend a day in the woods.
Cougar and the dogs.
There you go.
So it's Mother's Day too, so I get to pick.
It's your pick.
So, yeah. No, and so yeah, no, I've had my own hound since I was a little kid. So just been doing it ever since. And then like I said, my sister started the line that we have now over 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we've kept it going.
Yeah. And, what's in that line now? I mean, what?
Oh, we have a little bit of Walker, Red Tick, Plot. So
it's just a
little bit of Black and Tan in there. I call it our Skittle pack.
Skittles?
Skittles, yeah. Looks like a pack of Skittles or M&Ms, whatever you want.
Yeah.
They have a little bit of everything in them, but whatever works.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I find that's pretty much in a lot of people, they aren't sold on the, I don't say sold on the breeds. There's definitely some people who are like the breeds and the papers and all that, but a lot of times in the West, you just get like, there's no papers. Most of my dogs don't have papers. I got one that's got papers, but that's it. Everything else is kind of mixed up.
We've only had one papered dog ever in all the years. So he was a good one. He was a paper registered Plot. He was a nice one, a bear path.
Right.
But yeah, no, these ones are just a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Yeah. When did you get roped into president of CHC?
I've been the president since 2013.
So right after?
Yeah.
Who was before that?
Josh Bronis.
Okay.
Was president during 2012 when we lost it. He was president.
Yeah. It was a lot of work that year. I got
roped into it afterwards, and yeah.
Now you're holding a candle. Are you looking for somebody to pass it off to?
Longest running president. I think I'm the longest running president ever.
Yeah.
And
nobody's going to let you go.
I am ready to retire.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize, like with OSDA too, it's like sometimes people need to step up and help out the board. You know what I mean? I don't know how your board is or not, but it's like we got to give some breaks sometimes on the top. It's like, man, it gets rough being a president doing that much work, going to the Capitol and stuff like that. And
yeah, well, I already said if I get this bill passed, I'm
done?
Retired and I'm done.
Yeah.
Yep. So
well,
it's time for somebody else to step up to the plate.
You got your eyes on anybody yet? Don't say their name, but
No. No.
We'll groom them. You start grooming them now, Lori. You get that.
Trying to recruit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I had the talk. I have the talk every year that we're not getting any younger and young people need to step up because, well, Peggy, the treasurer, she's in her 70s. And then Dan Tishner, our treasurer of our SPVF account, he's in his 70s and late 70s. And he does all of our paperwork and taxes. And people don't even know what he does, all of our permits for stuff. And it's just like, I'm like, you know what? When we're done, when we're gone, what are you guys going to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody needs to start learning this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You got to step up and keep the ball rolling because the tides are changing. Like the fact that you're getting these bills and getting these discussions and stuff like that
And I
is
do
a good
get it
sign.
because somebody that has a working job could not do what I do.
Mm-mm.
I do get that.
Yeah.
15 years ago, 20 years ago, the CHC president didn't have to do nothing.
Yeah.
Show up to meetings. But now, somebody with working class person, they couldn't do this.
Yeah, they can't take off enough time to go to the Capitol
No.
to all that. Yeah.
I mean, for the last month, I've been at the Capitol probably at least 2 days a week, if not 3 to 4.
Yeah.
So nobody could do that with a job. They'd end up losing their job.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. This hound game is tough. You almost got to be like self-employed a lot of times to be to have the freedom to do it the way you need to do it. You That's to say that you can't have a job, but it definitely, the guys that are fully dedicated and putting as much effort and time into it as they want have a lot of freedom that the job doesn't allow, a 9 to 5.
I know my hounds think I hate them because they're used to hunting like that.
Yeah.
And yeah,
they're like,
and they
what's
think
wrong?
I just absolutely don't like them anymore.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, hopefully you'll be able to get them out and your hounds can realize that you still like them.
They'll breathe for a little bit now. Well, now I'm working on our banquet.
When is
gotta
that?
get stuff done for that. That's the 10th
of May.
Yeah, the first one's the 10th of May, and the next one will be in September. And so, get it.
I need to try to make it down to one of your guys' banquets. I won't be able to make it in May for sure, but
yeah, I'll let you know when the one in September is. It's a little closer for you anyway.
Perfect.
It's in Yuba City, so
yeah, that 10th where I'm pretty much slammed every weekend trying to do something.
Yeah.
Until June, I think, but with the kids, and I was like, man, there's weekends are getting filled up pretty quick. So.
In fact, one of my things on my agenda today is get with Jess. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. She mentioned you had to call her something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get all your. We'll get your stuff ready for you. That won't be a problem. So, well, Lori, I'll let you go. It's only been an hour on the podcast, but we spent an hour trying to get going before the podcast. So we've got 2 hours into this. I need to do some work today. Speaking of job, they're going to fire me if I don't go do some real work. So it was good chatting with you. Let's get on the podcast again. And I really want to keep me. I'm curious on some of the technicalities of those bills, and
we'll have to get Bill on here with me.
Yeah,
because he knows all about the political stuff.
Yeah, and
I just go help him with the hound. I mean, I'm there because I'm the hound person.
Yeah, I'm more curious about the overall pressure. You know what I mean? Like the overall looking at the moving pieces of going, okay, are the pieces in the right position that we can move the needle? You know what I mean? Like it feels like things are, and I know things are changing on that political landscape where if they're doing things like I said, if they're doing things where they're gutting a bill, removing all the effective pieces out of it, and then they're going to champion that bill as like that, there's some strong motivation that they're scared, in my opinion, that they're really nervous that if they don't do something, they know the writing's on the wall that they're losing the argument. You know what I mean? Like whatever it is, I think if they're getting that desperate, they're in a position where they're losing the argument, and they know they're losing the argument. Like they don't do that because they got a stronghold, they just kill the bill, so they're really positioning themselves that they're trying to play games. And I'm like, okay, maybe now's the time to start putting a little more pressure, and a little more discussion, because we have the right talking points. We have the proof, you know what I mean? We have the facts. All the things are lined up in our favor that we've known about forever, but for the longest time, they've had the talking points. They've had the oh, cruel and oh, humane, and all these different words that they used that were emotional words. And I mean, even down to the fact of follow the science. You know what I mean? Like, okay, they follow the science. That's a loaded statement. You know what I mean? Like, they get uncomfortable with that because they use that for that damn COVID thing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, follow the science. And it's like, oh, no, now we can be like, oh, follow the science, right? Well, yes, but not in this situation. You know what I mean? They want to use those. And so it's just funny how much they're politically spinning. Even Gavin Newsom, you know what I mean? You see him on podcasts, you see him getting hammered because he's kind of coming towards the center and doing podcasts with conservatives. And I mean, it's just a unique time right now in the political landscape. It's like there's so many moving pieces that I'm like, man, I don't know what's happening, and I don't know what's going to happen, but things might be in the right time for us to make a move.
Yeah. Well, so. I know that with that bear bill, I was like, after the lion one, I was just worried. And when they started voting, well, we were talking to them on Monday.
Yeah.
Friday and Monday, we really lobbied them. Then we went with the bear biologist on Monday, and he was great. Kyle Garrett. He worked in the Tahoe Basin for almost 2 years. And so he's seen firsthand what the bears are like in Tahoe.
Yeah.
And he worked with the Bear League, so he knows them firsthand. And anyway, so he's lobbying with us, and he had some great arguments. And the people actually listened. You could tell they actually listened, and they had some great questions.
Yeah.
And when they started voting and all these yeses started popping up, I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I think now is the time to reach to get to the Democrats. You know what I mean? And try to sit down and talk with them. And I always say, like, we always used to just throw sticks and stones and call them each other's names. Well, we're gonna have to work together.
One of them even said, she was a Democrat. She says, I don't live in the mountains, so I don't have this problem. I live in the desert, but I deal with, we have coyotes and this and that. And I'm like, oh, great, here we go.
Yeah.
And she goes, but I do realize there is a problem, and I've been briefed on this, and I know there's a problem from the stuff that you guys have presented to us. And, therefore I'm going to give a yes vote. And I was just like shocked.
Yeah.
But they actually listened, and they actually listened to this, looked at the stuff we gave them, the studies that we got and everything we talked about. And
yeah,
they actually, which does not happen very often here in this state.
No. And hopefully we can reward that by encouraging and being grateful and thankful and all that good stuff. If people are writing them letters to be like, hey, thanks, and that way the next time we make it a little easier for them to say yes. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, we got yes, we got encouraged. We didn't get a bunch of pushback, but we had a lot of people say thank you, and so that next time they can go, oh, it wasn't that hard. Well,
now we can do, we can introduce them to our dogs and hopefully get some of them in the field and just,
I'm encouraged that you got a point to work off of. You know what I mean? Like you
exactly. And for the chair to say she would go out with the dogs.
Yeah.
That's a plus. Because she was a hard no. And she was wanting the rest of them to follow her. because she's the leader.
And so she's a no. She was a no.
She was a hard no, but she voted to reconsider it.
Yeah.
And after talking with Heather Hadwick, she agreed to go out in the field with the dogs.
Yeah.
So she's willing to reconsider.
That's good.
And I'm like, holy cow. I mean, I was shocked over that. I was just like.
Yeah. I'd be curious what the motivation of the person that went from a no to a no vote. You know, like I'd be curious what you know, if you get to sit down with that person and go, hey, why did you change your vote? And you know, what do you have any questions? Will you come out and see the dogs? Will you, you know what I mean? Will you sit down and talk with this bear biologist, or will you do whatever? You know what I mean? Like if we can get those are little I won't say weaknesses because whatever, but
we will be working the heck out of those ones.
Exactly.
Especially.
It's a starting point to be like, okay, there's some work that we can do. And man, if you can get them out in the field and around a dog, a lot happens. So I'm really hopeful for that. I'm really hopeful for that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, Lori, let's wrap this up. You got anything else you want to get out before?
No. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we tried to do one before you doing one with Jason one time in a field trial and the barking dogs all over. Didn't work out. And we should do this once every couple months or so. I need to, now that Jason's gone, I gotta start working. I gotta do more podcasting. I gotta get off my ass and do something. So I appreciate you. I had a text going with you. I'm like, hey, you're somebody that's got something cool to talk about for a minute. Look, hop on and tell me what's going on down there. So.
All right, buddy.
All right, Lori, have a good one.
All right, bye.